I love you, but I would not date you again. We're here today for Dineh to pick me a new bae. I'm Leighla, I'm 20 years old, and this is my ex-boyfriend.
Hi, I'm Dineh, and I'm 20 years old.
We met in our first semester of college. There wasn't enough, chemistry. We were really good as friends, but not really good as a couple. We decided that we would quietly break it off, and we've been best friends ever since. Dineh is the perfect person to find my new bae because we are honestly the best of friends. He knows me super well. We get along, so he knows exactly, what I like, what I don't like, and we did date in the past, so he knows what went wrong with our relationship and what to avoid.
So I believe I'll be qualified to pick Leila's bae, either if it's a girl or a guy, because I've seen her interact with both. I do not believe I'll pick anyone like myself because in the end it didn't work out, so I'll definitely keep that in mind.
That's a great idea. I love you, but I would not date you again. I think I have a kind of a long list of demands, actually. I need someone who's really active and engaged in their community because I am. I'm a college student, I'm in student government, I'm on the honors forum, but I also go out every weekend and I have a lot of friends, so I need somebody who can definitely keep up with that. I want somebody who's also a bit academic, a little book smart and street smart, so that we have things in common. Definitely somebody who gets along with my friends, because that's a really important part of my life. I'm also looking for someone who's compassionate and kind, someone who dresses well, who presents themselves well. When it comes to celebrity crushes, first of all, I think Zoe Kravitz is so hot. I would die to even meet her. And then also A$AP Rocky, he's fine. All right, let's go find me a bae.
Let's do this.
Hi, my name is Kevin and I'm 23 years old, and my fun fact is that I can juggle and have juggled all sorts of balls, fruits, and different objects.
Hi, I'm Amina. I'm 22, I'm a singer, and I'm a Scorpio.
My name is Willard. I'm 23, and fun fact, I built my first computer when I was in 8th grade.
Hi, I'm Jillian, I'm 18, and my fun fact is that I'm a camp counselor.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne, I'm 22 years old, and my name is the state capital of Wyoming.
My name is Michael, I'm 22 years old, and I once ate cat food because I was there too.
Hi, my name is Amir, I'm 20 years old, and I once held a 2.3 million high score in Subway Surfers.
Hi, my name is Griffin, I'm 20 years old, and I want to be a doctor for old people.
Hi, I'm Helen, I'm 19, and I was born and raised in Houston, Texas.
Hi, I'm Nova, I'm 21 years old, I'm the mom friend and the crazy friend.
Well, I think there are some candidates that are here that, based on appearance, would kind of check off on Leila's book, but we shall see.
I definitely heard a lot of interesting answers. The cat food one raised a couple eyebrows for me, but I'm keeping an open mind.
So Leila loves to look good. She puts a lot of time and effort into it, so that only is fair that her partner meets the level there. So if you guys were to go out to a club together, what would be your ideal fit or outfit?
I personally like to keep it a little bit classy but simple, very, very hip, I guess. So probably something maybe a nice button down, maybe slim cut pants, nice pair of sneakers, something like that.
I would wear to a club a nice dress with shoes that probably hurt my feet, but we won't be matching the same dress because I think that's a little corny, but we both look nice.
I'll probably wear some vintage type style. I like to wear a lot of Cuban collar shirts and just a blue jean and just regular sneakers.
I'd probably wear a cute romper or maybe a crop top.
I think I'd probably wear a nice black lace dress, tall demonias, couple of rings, and cute hat.
I definitely wear something that's preppy meets urban in a way. Skinny jeans, Chelsea boots, Doc Martens, something like that. Basically what I'm wearing right now.
I'm really into a trench coat, going into a shirt that's kind of like this. I'm really into flower, sort of jewelry, things like that. And then slacks or jeans, I'm cool with that. I'm wearing Timbs right now. I could wear Timbs, but I could put on some Calvin Kleins. all depends on the classiness or all depends on the urbanality.
So I'd wear a nice button up with maybe like a nice jacket, some black jeans, make sure the shoes are really nice. I want a nice watch.
All my friends say I'm really extra, so I would definitely go with something like sequins, maybe some fun tights like fishnets, some nice heels, definitely something fun and very like cutting edge when it comes to the fashion.
If I'm going to the club, I'm gonna wear my wig. I have this really nice, sleek, icy blue wig, my holographic crop top, and my holographic heels.
So, most of the people here fit description, I think. You know, nice fitted shirt, nice jeans to match. But the only thing is that Leighla, I think, wouldn't want something that's way too over the top. So I'm sorry, Helen. Very sorry.
I guess it just didn't feel that great. Someone that doesn't appreciate camp style dress wouldn't really get along with me anyway, so. I thought it was a really strange situation that her ex was her bestie. I mean, good for them, but a little weird.
So now we're at the club and you are now about to hit the dance floor, and this is your first move, first impression for a dance move. What is it?
You don't have to be a good dancer, at least have some confidence and at least be able to ride the rhythm.
I love to dance, so anyone who's not interested in like being on the dance floor for most of the night, probably not gonna work.
This is definitely a good example of just being thrown into the dance floor, and I think everybody did a pretty good job with just going with it, but I think, Gillian, I'm sorry.
I'm not like really a big dancer, but you're missing out on a lot of fun energy. I stand by the moves I did, and I do not want to repeat that and put the viewers through that again.
So the next question is, do you guys believe in ghosts or astrology, or is that just not your thing?
For stuff like ghosts, I generally don't want to think too much about it. It's like, yes, but not something that's positive to really think about, you know what I mean?
Earlier I mentioned I was a Scorpio, so I think I act exactly like one, so definitely, and ghosts are real.
Well, for me, like I know, like for the most part, ghosts are real. Astrology is not really like my thing, really. Even though I know about it, but it's not really like, I'm not into like too deep about it, you know, so.
I believe in muertos. I most definitely do. Okay, like, I won't cross black cats. I won't. It's for real. It's serious.
Yeah, you can. I believe in ghosts. I don't feel like there would be no need not to. Yeah.
I believe in God, so I guess off of that, I believe in spirits. Wouldn't consider myself superstitious, but do consider myself spiritual.
I'm pretty sure my house is haunted, so maybe there's some ghosts, but then again, it could be like my dog or my cat.
So in Bangladesh, where my family's from, there's just a lot of ghost stories. Like every person knows someone who's encountered a ghost or has encountered a ghost. So when I was growing up, I was really interested in them and I'd watch documentaries on them. But now, I'm not sure how I feel about them. I just really like hearing the stories.
I do not believe in ghosts or paranormal activity, and that is actually something I would like my match to agree with me on. I'm not very superstitious. I don't believe in like, you know, horoscopes or astrology or anything like that. I'm a very like down-to-earth kind of I'll believe it when I see it kind of person.
Based on the fact that Leighla is not for astrology or for ghosts, I'm sorry, Mina.
I mean, you know, it's here and there. Some people say it's real, some people say it's not, so it is what it is. I thought it was weird that Dineh was her ex, you know. You don't know what his intentions are, kind of, but, you know, that couldn't go either way.
Leighla loves to cook. Could you list 5 essential seasonings that you would use or that you use now?
It really depends on what I cook. I think it's just because I'm in New York, so there's so many different cuisines. Maybe like ketchup's an essential. Salt, you know, for fries and different stuff like that. Ketchup, salt, soy sauce when I need to get Asian food. Maybe some sriracha, a little bit there. And I'm thinking what else? Maybe some kind of spice, some kind of very unique spice.
Like, I don't know any top 5, but for the most part, it's just hot sauce, black peppers, salt, yeah.
I can absolutely not live without adobo, sesame, cilantro, okay, achote, and sometimes when I make gumbo, I use a little bit of cholula, but don't tell nobody.
I actually grew up, like my mom's a chef, so I used to help her in the kitchen a lot. So when it comes to seasonings, I say definitely salt, pepper, adobo, basil, and oh man, there's this other pepper that I'm forgetting, but it's sort of like chili that is used in Brazilian culture. So I'm Brazilian, by the way, and yeah, so those would be my 5.
My grandparents are real crazy cooks in the kitchen. I mean, I'm really into the whole cilantro, cinnamons. I love garlics. But I'm really into chopping up onions, getting some scallions in there, some green peppers, some yellow peppers, some orange peppers, whatever you need. I got you.
My dad really told me you should have a lot of paprika and stuff, some garlic, some cilantro. You gotta even out with some basil, maybe some Cajun in there. If you really want something hot, like maybe some like chipotle or like a buffalo sauce. If you're really feeling risky.
I would say my top 5, or I can't pick 5, there's so much. My favorite combos is like garlic, ginger, and soy sauce for like Asian like stir fry and stuff.
Guys had the spices down. A lot of them are sounding really good, and some of them I use when I make my food myself, and Leighla does as well. But since you were struggling with the spices, I have to let you go. I'm sorry.
I don't think that's a fair question. I'm not really much of like a cook for the most part, because I'm always like busy and traveling for the most part, and I'm always on my feet, so I don't really have time to cook. So I feel like that was the question that just like took me out of it.
Next question is, how did your last relationship end, and what would your ex say about you?
Well, of course, like, because she's my ex, obviously it didn't work, you know what I mean? I think in terms of what really happened, I think is that for me personally, I think I'm a little bit more outgoing, and I realized that my ex was a little bit much more like introverted, much more like quiet into the books.
I pride myself on being very open and honest, especially when I'm in a relationship. And my ex wasn't exactly the most honest of people. So we kind of ended up drifting apart. I think my ex would probably say something like, honestly, she used to call me a dweeb all the time. Like, I'm super nerdy.
So my last relationship ended because I moved from Virginia to Philly, and there was no way that I was gonna see her again, just from the different circumstances in our lives. But I think that she would still, you know, see me as a friend. We haven't talked, but yeah, we're cordial, I guess.
My last relationship ended a while ago, and it was the type of thing where I'm an artist and she was an artist, and both of us are very passionate about what we do. And for the most part, it ended simply because we work so much outside of each other, and it was like, it only made more sense for us to continue our relationship as friends. She would say that I'm a very passionate artist. I care about my partner and always want to take them out, always want to give them the world.
My last relationship ended because we both went to different schools. I had to move away for college and she had to stay behind. So, you know, that it was kind of hard. So things didn't really work out. I mean, I wouldn't say we're enemies now, but you know, we're not that close just because we live far away from each other. I really tried to give her whatever she wanted or like whatever she needed, if I had to buy that or if I had to make it. And I just wanted to give her my full self. She would say that I was giving.
My ex and I ended mostly because we just like lost feelings after like being together and not together for like a long time. We were friends for a long time after we broke up, but like the friendship became a little bit toxic because I think he thought that I would still give him the things that I would give him in the relationship. I still have a lot of love for him, and I know he has a lot of love for me still. He would always say that I'm really funny, I'm cute, and I'm thoughtful.
I'd want something that sounds honest. I wouldn't want anyone to give me a really generic answer because honesty is like something that I value a lot. And there's a lot of nuance when it comes to relationships, so I'd be pretty understanding of any answer.
So Leighla is very passionate about her work and can sometimes get sucked into it, but as her friend and as her ex, I know that she needs somebody that can sometimes pull her out of it based on you not being able to sometimes like get her out of that work mode. I think that would be you. I'm sorry, G. All love though. All love.
You know, getting out on the question of my ex was a very interesting one simply because of, I mean, like, that didn't even end in a very bad way. And what I think is really interesting is that I could perfectly agree with Dineh that, you know, if you're in a relationship, it's got to be 100% on both sides.
What is the most spontaneous thing you've done so far in your life, I guess?
I think in college alone, there's just so many to name, but I think there's just been so many times in college where like I would want to like maybe say, okay, we don't have anything in particular to do today, so we're just gonna like, let's say go to the cafeteria and I'll see what other people are going and somehow I'll find myself like suddenly at like a rap concert or like going to like a ballet concert the next day to like a music, like I'm not even joking, like I'll bounce from like rap to ballet to like musical theater, and the whole reason it's just for the sake of trying something brand new. It's like doing something that you don't normally think you would do, but experiment and see, oh, maybe we'll learn something and find some secret interest of some kind.
If I were to say the most spontaneous thing I've done recently, I actually went rock climbing for the first time, and it was super hard and really, really like tiring, and I didn't think I was gonna get through it, but my friends were really supportive. And once I got to the top and just looked down, it was like, I really did that, huh?
So the most spontaneous thing that I recently did, which was 2 weeks ago, was skydiving. It was really nerve-wracking. I really didn't want to do it, but I just wanted to overcome that fear, and once I did it, you know, the feeling was easy. It's weird, once you're in the sky, it's like, you know you're secure.
So I think the most spontaneous thing I've done recently is during my winter break, me and my friends decided we were gonna drive to the beach down south because we were like, oh, it's really cold here, you know, it's snowing, it's freezing, we're just gonna drive to the beach. And it was like 14 hours of driving, but we went.
I'm a pretty random person. I just like trying new things because I always need something new. I need new experiences all the time. But this one particular day, I was just very, very low. I was having a bad day, and I was walking home in the snow, and I was just like looking around, and I was like, you know what? Let me just dance. So I just started dancing in the snow, like on my way home, and I felt so much better.
Spontaneity is definitely essential when it comes to like looking for a bae for me because I'm always on the move, plans are always changing, and you know, we can get a text from someone in the squad and they say, pull up here, and we're there immediately, you know?
So there are definitely clear levels of spontaneousness, I guess, with Leighla when it like revolves around Leighla, and I just think that skydiving might just be way too high up there. That's the only thing, but.
On the skydiving answer, I understood where Dineh was coming from. There's definitely a spectrum of spontaneous, just being spontaneous, and yeah, I understood it. No hard feelings, like, I get it.
So, do you consider yourself a feminist, and what does feminism mean to you?
I don't consider myself a feminist, but I think that's more because like I do really, really believe and preach equal rights. You know what I mean? Like I do believe in like equality, whether it is with like racial, religion, gender, or anything like that, economic class and all that. But the only reason why I wouldn't like really consider myself a feminist, I think it's like I do believe in like equality between gender, but I think the problem is that sometimes people who preach feminism sometimes like overdo it to the point where it's like they don't try to make things equal anymore. They kind of try to make it where like the females are actually even above the males, you know what I mean? And it becomes sometimes like misguided. So it's kind of like, I do believe it, but I think it's mispracticed a lot of times.
Well, I am a firm believer in feminism. I make sure that my feminism is intersectional. I always make sure to include people. I never want anyone to feel as though that they are, put out or pushed out or they can't be in certain groups.
I would say that I'm a feminist because feminism is really about like equal rights for women and men, and there shouldn't really be like a gap between them, and we should just see everyone as equals. Like I think just because you're like a different gender or race or like a sexuality, you shouldn't be treated any differently, or people shouldn't see you as less. And yeah, like a lot of feminists, like feminism as a movement gets a bad rep because, some people really like will throw it out of proportion and say, oh, like feminists are man haters and they're crazy. But I think like actual feminists are just like normal people that just want rights for everyone.
I do consider myself an intersectional feminist. I think that is like the most important part of feminism because people do get the idea that, like you said, that feminists hate men and stuff like that. But I have a younger cousin, he's like 13 years old, and I think I've been practicing my feminism better because of him, because like I know like the type of man that like I want him to be able to be. I want him to feel free in like whatever he decides to do, whether it's being more feminine or being more masculine. I want him to practice it in his own way, and it's really important for me to like make it inclusive.
If you believe in equal rights but won't call yourself a feminist, that's a huge red flag for me.
Yeah, you already knew it was coming, Kevin.
Because there's such a contrast, that's why I know, yeah.
I'm sorry, and due to Leila's beliefs, that's just very clashing, and I'm sorry, it's just
no, I don't blame you, it's fine. I saw it coming, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I almost knew I was almost definitely gonna get out before I even answered the question, but I think the only reason why is just because I know that like with a lot of stuff like feminism, politics, or anything like that, it's a very, very touchy, sensitive topic. So they've never been really great questions that I normally like to answer anyway, and I think it's generally something I avoid. So as soon as that was asked, I knew like, this is it. I don't even have to give an answer, but of course I had to give an answer, so I did give an answer.
So, do you guys have any guilty pleasures?
I personally feel like I'm not guilty about anything. I'm very much, I'm out there, bro. But like, honestly, my guilty pleasure is I like to write songs about horror movies. Like, I'll watch something and I'll be like, I wonder how this character feels. And then I'll end up just writing a song about them or how, from their perspective or something like that.
I would say for me, guilty pleasure is probably like Cheez-Its, which sounds really simple, but it's like, they're really bad, but at the same time, they're really good.
So I don't really care for gossip or anything like that, but I think my guilty pleasure is like I'll have periods of times where like there'll be like those YouTube videos about like Hollywood, Hollywire, and they have all like the like Hollywood gossip, and I'm like, what is Shane Dawson doing? What is he doing? And like I'll like watch a whole bunch of videos on like that, and I'll be like, okay, now I know all this information, what do I do with it?
Oh, I definitely indulge in a lot of guilty pleasures.
So based on everybody's answer, I believe that your two both outweigh yours. So I'm sorry, but thank you.
I feel like my interest is pretty boring, plain. You know, I had like other guilty pleasures that are a little more interesting, so I wish I went with one of them. I mean, I think it was really intimidating that he was her ex, because he knows that she likes, and he probably, you know, has like strong feelings for her because they're exes and they're best friends.
In 30 seconds or less, tell me why I should pick you for Leila's bae.
Well, I'm fun, I'm spontaneous. I love to go have any type of just weird dates, anything like that is like extremely fun. And I love to make people smile. Like, that's my favorite thing in the world.
You should pick me because I don't really see her face, but something about her tells me she's an artist. I'm an artist too. I'm a creative. We could create together. I'm also I like making people laugh, and I like making people feel good about themselves. So if you're ever down, I'll be the person to hype you up. And I also love to eat and I love to cook. So we'll be making lots of yummy foods together.
I believe that both you guys would fit pretty well into being what Leila would be looking for. But one thing that really caught me at the end was that you, if you're really, if she's down, you'll really be there to, pick her up. And I think that's, what Leila needs in the end. So, from, coming from a friend standpoint and, her ex standpoint.
I genuinely didn't expect to make it that far. It's actually pretty cool. I got really nervous and I didn't know what to say. And I actually can't remember what I said, but it didn't win me anything, so. I think Dineh is super cool. He gives me mall goth vibes, and I just like that.
Hi.
I'm Leila.
Nova.
Leila here, she's a hard worker, also knows how to balance it with fun as well. But, everybody needs help on that. But she's outgoing, she's kind, she's always there for all of our friends back at school. I chose Nova for you because based on what you've wanted in the past and based on what you want now too, I just feel that Nova really fits that.
Well, Nova's definitely really cute, so that's a plus. But I was listening really closely to a lot of the answers, and I did like to hear what you had to say, so.
I mean, I could tell from the back of her head, she was mad cute. I love her hair. I love the top, and I was right. Her face is adorable, and she seems like a sweetheart, and I like sweet girls, so.
My bestie picked my bae. I think Dineh did a really great job at picking my bae. I have to admit, I was super skeptical listening to the interviews going on behind me. I was worried for a hot minute whether he would choose the right person, but I was really happy with the choice that he made in the end. I was listening really closely to all of Nova's answers, and I thought they were super thoughtful, super engaging, and if I were to choose for myself, I think that's the choice I would have arrived at.
I feel like you go into this not really knowing how compatible you will be with someone else, but then best friend comes in and kind of rescues you in the situation. And once I got to talk to her more, I was just like, oh, okay, all right, we have a lot of similarities, and I feel like I heard that you work really, really hard. I feel like I play really, really hard. So I think we'll be able to balance each other out, and we also have a lot in common, so.
You did a pretty good job, Dineh. I was worried for a second. When the ketchup response was not immediately eliminated, I thought, this is all going downhill. But at the end of the day, Nova's dope, so.
Thanks for watching.
For more videos like this, subscribe to 17's YouTube channel.